Hi guys, and welcome to today's session. This is the first one of this new academic year. And as you can see, I've got some paper in front of me. And what I'm going to be doing over the next few lessons is doing like a sort of line drawing in pen. But the ultimate medium will be pen, so I've got these little Pigma pens. But any kind of like fine linery type thing in different weights is fine for this, what I'm doing. So this is a 0.3 and a 0.7 basically are the two thicknesses of pen that I've got. I'm probably not actually going to be using pen today. I'm going to be using pencil, but we're going to be blocking in the drawing. So it's going to be a sunflower sketch, so like a flower drawing. And something a bit different actually I've done, because very often I just work from a single reference. I've got a few different references. So if I pan across and zoom in, you can see I've got the main sunflower head that I want to draw is this one, which I really like, but the reference didn't have such interesting leaf patterns, and I've got kind of two options for leaves down below. So today I'm going to be sketching in just the overall composition, figuring out how big the head's going to be and how much we're going to get below in terms of leaves and the stem, because sunflowers always have really nice interesting leaves and stems. So to begin with, I'm just going to kind of map out where I sort of want the drawing to stop at the top, and at the bottom is going to be kind of similar, and it's going to be like kind of like, because it's a line drawing, just sort of faded out. There's not going to be a background drawn in. It's going to be just working with line. So that's the sort of overall height, and I'm kind of thinking about the fact I don't necessarily want the stem in the center of the paper, because it's going to feel like it's sort of tilting over to the right hand side of the drawing. The stem's probably going to kind of sit a little bit to the left and then tilt up towards where the head is. So what I probably want is, if this is about the center line of the paper, about there, I want the kind of center of the sunflower to maybe sit sort of about here. And this is where all the seeds are, basically. That's what I mean by the center. So if that's about sort of sitting there, even that actually maybe feels a little bit too far to the right. So I'm going to move it back across a little bit, maybe more kind of like in about here. Something like that. So then we've got the layers of petals sticking up. I'm doing them as those sort of little jagged shapes because they have that feel about them. We're not elaborating loads about what exactly the petals look like at this stage. We've got this petal that kind of juts into that space in the center. So that's looking all right. Then we've got these kind of clusters of the kind of thing they call calyxes or something, those bits that stick off the head of the flower, and then stem dropping down. So this stem I'm going to do generally, well, maybe let's do a little bit bending across like some of those stems below. So the one that we're looking at is a bit more straight, and then maybe angling back a little bit as it goes down. So in my reference, I'm just going to zoom into some of these leaves and sort of look at how I can maybe start to use those. So we've got this leaf shape here, which kind of hovers off. What's really nice about the sunflower leaves is they kind of hover off the stem. You get this kind of umbrella-y effect, almost like little platforms. Sounds quite nice. And I think the leaf actually that kind of juts up behind is good as well. And that would be kind of overlapped by the calyx. This calyx is coming off the head. So yeah, that's looking quite nice, I think. And then definitely this is a good leaf. this other one coming up to the left. So you can see I'm really quickly just kind of getting impressions of these leaf shapes in. I'm not not being super detailed with them at all. Just having a look. I think I'll probably end up using most of the leaves from this other side. I quite like this one, which we don't see a lot of. I'm going to have to guess at. Just feels almost kind of big and really big and droopy. You get some really big leaves off sunflowers. And then maybe have the stem widen out a little bit more. I kind of feel like it would be nice to have one more. Yeah, so that's sort of starting to build quite a nice kind of tapering shape up, I think, with that positioning of everything. So, yeah, quite happy with that general lay-in. So what I'm going to do now is go back to the sunflower head itself and try to just go a little bit more detailed with where these petals are going to go. Before we start adding pens. So that's what we'll be doing today. So I'm not going to like individually count them out, but I'm just going to be doing a similar sort of thing, but just on a smaller scale. So say, got a little petal there. That sort of overlaps slightly with this petal that thrusts forwards. So I'm kind of, you see, focusing on that group, this group here, getting in. So I'll get them in place. And I know that in terms of the size of the head, if we're making it that big, this sits basically just dead center. So the other side is going to be out to about here. And then I know that the overall height, because it's pretty much a circle, is going to be about the same. So the top of the head is going to be about there. Bottom's going to be about down here. And then we kind of get more of a sense of where the circle is going to go, circle of the head. And you can almost like, so one thing you could do is think of this as like a negative shape. So what we're going to try to draw is actually just to begin with all the darker orange bit that we see and not the light yellow bit. So if that's the case, we've got this shape here. So I'm drawing the negative shape basically. This angles back up. Down here it drops like I've got there, then it just cuts back in a little bit. And that angles down. And if I kind of lightly shade that in, I'm not going to shade it in loads because we're going to actually be doing most of the kind of development of tone using pen, but I just want to use that to just help distinguish a little bit. So that sort of establishes that first set of petals. There's a lot of kind of overlapping going on with the petals, which we don't have to get everything in because we're going to be doing some of it just straight with pen so that we don't end up with loads of pencil everywhere. So I'm trying to keep everything fairly kind of neat. Just trying to focus on just these bigger petals to begin with. Just shrinking the size of those top petals down a little bit. So that's the petals mostly sort of in. So now I'm just going to start to suggest the calyx shapes. So maybe gone a little bit too high with some of these. I'm going to just kind of cut them down a little bit. Just straight with the eraser, a simple way to do it. Kind of rein them back in a little bit, the shapes of them. Yeah, I think that's a little bit better. Yeah, so if I zoom back out, the final thing I'm going to do is just work on the connection between the head and the stem. Just adjust the thickness of the stem as it's going down a little bit as well. Just got this last leaf. And yeah, that's a pretty good little combined block in there. Just shrinking down these main petals there, they seem a little bit too big to me. Yeah, So that's a good point, I think, to stop. So it's all erasable. I've kept it fairly light, and then we're just going to be working the ink right over the top, basically. Which, when I say ink, I just mean those kind of like fine linery pens. So that's all you need in terms of materials, the pencil, an eraser for this week, and then we'll be using pens from next week onwards. So yeah, that's it for now, and I will see you guys next week. As always, you can subscribe to the channel by clicking the subscribe button below, and if you want to have a look at the paid qualifications that we offer, you can visit the link in the description too. But yeah, that's it for now, and I'll see you guys soon.